Welcome back, my crimson hearts. This is LycanTales, where love burns beneath the moon. Tonight's story isn't about the girl who found a beast. It's about the beast who found his match. She wanted freedom, the right to breathe without chains. He wanted surrender, the kind that leaves the soul trembling. But when the moon rose crimson, fate stopped asking what they wanted and started taking what it pleased. Before we begin, remember to like, subscribe, and send your hypes. Every spark keeps our pack alive and fuels the next fire. Now, let the forest hear your heartbeat. This is Mated to the Beast Alpha, a girl who wanted freedom, a monster who wanted her surrender. The bells of St. Hildra's Abbey tolled midnight as Raina fled. The sisters slept in their stone cells, dreaming of salvation. She dreamed only of escape. The air smelled of wax and cold iron. Outside the walls, the black veil waited, its trees whispering like the tongues of the damned. Her bare feet touched dew-soaked grass. The wind dragged her cloak behind her, heavy with stolen rosary beads that clicked like warning bells. The forest rose ahead, tall as cathedrals, older than the church itself. No one crossed its border, not after the stories. Still, she ran. Each step carried her deeper into the breath of the woods. Branches curled overhead, veiling the crimson moon. The ground pulsed faintly, as if something beneath it slept too close to waking. A thorn snagged her palm. Blood dotted the roots below. The earth shivered. Ravens burst from the trees. From somewhere beyond the fog came the slow, deliberate sound of something walking, heavy, unhurried, sure. Who trespasses in the vale? The voice was not shouted, it rumbled, ancient as the stones of fallen keeps. Raina spun toward it, clutching her torn hand to her chest. No one, she whispered, but the forest disagreed. Leaves stirred. The mist parted. He stepped from the dark like a tale made flesh. A man, yet not. Armor broken and blackened by fire, skin marked with silver scars that caught the moonlight. His eyes glowed faint gold, reflecting the blood on her palm. The blood calls, he said. The moon answers. Her throat tightened. I meant no harm. He tilted his head, studying her as though she were a relic he half remembered. You speak to me without kneeling. Brave. Or foolish. I only want freedom. A faint, dangerous smile touched his mouth. Freedom, he repeated, tasting the word as if it were forbidden wine. That scent, that defiance, it stirs the curse. Wind gathered around them. The sigils carved into the nearest trees flared faintly. His gaze hardened. The gods warned me of a voice that would wake the beast again. I'm no prophet, she said. No, he murmured, stepping close enough that the warmth of him bent the chill air. You are the prophecy's flaw. The space between them trembled. Her heartbeat echoed through the silence, his shadow bent with it. Your name, he demanded quietly. Raina. He drew in a breath that sounded almost like pain. Then mine will follow you in every prayer you try to forget. Kale. When he spoke it, the moon brightened, red, bleeding to white, then back again. The forest seemed to bow. Somewhere deep underground, chains broke. Kale's eyes flashed. Run, Raina of St. Hildra. Run before the old gods remember why they cursed me. But her legs refused. The pull between them was already written into the soil. He vanished, leaving only the echo of his name and the scent of iron and rain. The forest had heard her name, and the beast had answered. Raina woke to light that wasn't sunlight. It poured from the walls themselves, pale and cold, gleaming over stone that shimmered like frozen moonlight. The air smelled of pine smoke and rain-damp fur. She pushed herself upright on a bed of furs so soft they swallowed sound. Chains of silver hung from the ceiling, their ends broken long ago. Beyond them stood Kyle, the beast alpha. He watched her as though the world had narrowed to her breath. Armor gone now, only the scars remained, tracing his skin like runes of another language. "Where am I?" Her voice cracked. "In the heart of the veil," he said, "the place even the gods forgot to bless." She glanced at her hand. The cut had vanished. In its place, faint light pulsed beneath her skin. One rhythm, steady, certain. "What did you do to me?" Kyle's eyes flicked to the mark. "I answered the call your blood made." She pressed her palm against it. Heat burned through her veins, echoing the beat inside his chest. "Undo it." "If I could." He stepped closer. "But the mark does not ask permission. It binds what the moon commands." Raina stumbled backward until her spine touched the stone wall. "I'm leaving." He said nothing, just moved aside, letting her see the tunnel that led upward toward the forest light. "Go then," he murmured. "Freedom comes with a price." She didn't wait to question him. She ran, barefoot, cloak trailing, breath sharp in her throat. The tunnel opened to the woods, mist curling around her like smoke. For a moment she thought she was free. Then the mark flared, painful, bright. The forest tilted. She felt him inside her head, not words, only presence, dark and absolute. "Run farther. I'll still find you." She pressed her hand to her chest, trying to quiet the heartbeat that wasn't hers. The echo of his voice followed her through the trees, low and calm and terrifyingly certain. Somewhere behind her, the moonstone den rumbled as the beast turned toward the night, a promise written into the air between them. The hunt had begun. Dawn broke like a blade across the black veil. Raina ran until her legs trembled, until the mist thinned and she could taste iron on the air. The forest no longer whispered. It watched. Each tree leaned closer, waiting for the end of a story it already knew. She pressed a hand to her chest. The mark pulsed faintly, warm against her skin. It matched another heartbeat, steady, relentless, not her own. Far behind her, a howl split the morning, not an animal, a warning. Kale. He stood before his council of alphas, a circle of beasts dressed in the shape of men, their armor etched with the runes of the old gods. The light of the moonstone den had turned black in their presence. "She bears your mark," one growled. "A human. Do you defy the covenant?" Kale didn't flinch. "The mark chose." "The mark damns," another spat. "Her blood is mortal. It will corrupt the line. You know the law." He looked toward the forest, eyes distant. He could feel her running, stumbling, fighting to breathe. Each ragged breath cut through him as though her lungs were his own. "I know the law," he said quietly. "I've bled for it, but not this time." The council rose in unison, silver light sparking from their armor. The eldest raised his staff. "Then by moon and fang, we strip you of your name. You are no alpha. You are a beast unbound." Chains of light erupted from the air, divine and searing. Kale caught them with his bare hands. The scent of burning flesh filled the chamber. When the light faded, the chains lay broken at his feet. "I was never bound," he said. And then he vanished, leaving nothing but wind and the echo of his defiance. Raina stumbled through the outer woods, drawn by the pull in her chest. She stopped at a river, kneeling to drink, but the reflection staring back wasn't hers. Kale's eyes flashed through the water, gold, fierce, calling. Her pulse jumped. "No," she whispered, slapping the water, but it didn't break the image. His voice came like thunder under her skin. "They will come for you, little wanderer. Stay where the light dies." "Why help me?" "Because the moment they touch you," he said, "I'll feel it." She turned, startled, and found him there. Half shadow, half man, the air rippling around him as though he'd stepped out of the storm itself. His chest rose with battle heat, eyes wild, bleeding power. She saw the wounds, fresh burns crawling up his arms where the council's light had struck him. "You fought them," she breathed. He stepped closer. "I fight for you." Something inside her twisted, fierce and foreign. Part fear, part something she dared not name. The mark between them throbbed, spreading heat through the air. When he reached out, the space between their fingers crackled. The forest seemed to hold its breath. 1 heartbeat. 2. The mark ignited. A blinding flash tore through the veil, scattering the mist, shaking the trees. The river boiled where their shadows met. Kyle caught her before she fell, his voice raw against her ear. "You feel that?" Her lips parted, not from pain, but from the rush that followed. The bond pulsed through her veins, wild and ancient. Every heartbeat he spent fighting burned inside her chest. Every breath he took pulled hers with it. And when the storm quieted, the forest knew what they both refused to say. Whatever tied them together could no longer be undone. The night sky split itself in two. One moon white, one red, both watching. Raina woke to the sound of chanting. Kale's den was no longer silent. Figures cloaked in ash gray stood around the fire, their palms marked with the same sigil that burned on her hand. The elders had come. Kale knelt before them, unarmed, the weight of their words pressing into his back like stone. "You broke the covenant," one intoned. "The mark you carry was forged to destroy, not to bind. The beast may lead. He must never love." Raina's breath caught. The eldest turned to her, eyes milky with sight beyond sight. "Child," he said, "every heartbeat you take feeds the curse. His blood will claim your years until the moons rise as one again." Kale rose in one motion, his voice a snarl edged in grief. "Then I'll break the moons themselves." "Defy the heavens, and you'll doom her faster," the elder warned. "The mark drains life to keep its master whole. You live because she fades." The fire guttered out. Silence fell like a verdict. When the elders left, Kyle remained by the embers, the glow tracing the cracks in his armor. Raina moved closer, hiding the tremor in her hands. "I'm not dying," she said, forcing the lie through pale lips. He looked up, eyes too bright. "You're weaker every dawn. I feel it." "Then stop feeling." The words struck him harder than any blade. He turned away, fists clenched, claws half-formed. The mark between them throbbed, an ache neither could soothe nor sever. She reached out, fingertips brushing the line of his shoulder. The contact stole the air from both of them, heat flaring, pain mingling with something softer. Her pulse slowed, his quickened. The bond traded life for warmth. "See?" she whispered. "Even the gods can't tell us apart anymore." Kyle caught her wrist, careful, trembling with restraint. "If I touch you again, I'll take more than I give." "Maybe that's the point," she said, voice barely sound. The wind rose, scattering ash. He stepped back, fighting himself, then vanished into the trees before she could fall. The echo of his heartbeat stayed behind, pulsing through her mark. Each thud a promise, each silence a warning. Above the forest, the twin moons burned, one feeding, one fading, while the world waited to see which would survive the night. Rain fell for 3 days without pause. By the time the storm broke, the world smelled of iron and pine sap. In the deepest chamber of the moonstone den, Raina sat on a stone bench, her wrists circled by silver cuffs that hummed faintly with warding runes. Kale stood at the doorway, drenched and silent. "You could have killed me," she said at last. "Would have been easier." His gaze flicked toward the mark on her hand, its glow faint but still alive. "Easier doesn't mean right. You chained me to a wall, I chained you to keep you breathing. The air between them cracked like the moment before thunder. Reyna tilted her head, studying him with the kind of calm that frightened him more than any scream. You're not afraid of losing control, she murmured. You're afraid of what you'd find if you stopped fighting it. He turned away, jaw tight, rain still sliding from his hair to the floor. You think you know the beast? I think the beast knows me, she answered. That's why you can't look at me without shaking. Kyle's hands clenched against his sides. The chains rattled in response, humming with her heartbeat. The mark flared, faint and defiant. Stop, he said softly. You don't understand what you're calling. She rose, slow and deliberate, the cuffs sparking as they met her movement. Then teach me. He crossed the distance in a breath. His palm landed on the wall beside her head, the stone hissing under his touch. For a moment, neither moved. Her breath brushed his collarbone. His shadow covered hers entirely. Every time I come near you, he said, voice rough, the bond wakes. It doesn't know mercy. Maybe neither do you. Something inside him broke. The runes on the cuffs flickered out. The chains fell away with a dull clang. Reyna didn't step back. Kyle caught the sound of his own breathing, too fast, too human. Go, he whispered, though the word came out like a plea. Reyna's fingers touched the mark at her wrist, tracing the faint scar where silver had burned her. If I go, the curse takes you apart. If I stay, it takes me. Then we're both cursed, he said. And I'm done fighting the gods for permission to want. The storm outside struck again. The den shuddered. Light from the broken chains flared against the walls. Reyna closed her eyes, feeling the pull between them tighten, fierce, and bright as lightning. The last thing she heard before the thunder drowned the world was his voice, quiet, raw, surrendering. Let the gods watch. I'm finished pretending I don't burn. Morning crept through the den like a thief, pale and cold. Reyna lay wrapped in Kale's cloak, the silver cuffs now broken on the floor beside her. The fire had died to embers. Outside, the forest hummed. A low, uneasy song. Kale was gone. He had gone to face his pack. At the edge of the vale, the beta knelt before the council ruins, pouring a vial of quicksilver into the earth. Forgive me, Alpha, he whispered. You were meant to lead, not love. The poison sank into the roots, spreading toward the den like veins of light. Inside, Reyna felt it first. The mark on her wrist flared, bright enough to blind. Her breath caught, sharp as frost. Something burned beneath her skin, cold fire, pure and merciless. Kyle staggered mid-stride miles away, clutching his chest. Through the bond came the echo of her heartbeat breaking rhythm. He knew that sound. It was her scream swallowed by distance. He turned, fury swallowing reason. Who touched her? When no answer came, he shifted. The air shattered around him, wings of shadow unfurling. Every wolf within the veil dropped to its knees as he tore through them, searching, scenting, feeling. The beta tried to hide in prayer. Kale found him kneeling by the poisoned soil. What have you done? I freed you, the beta gasped. The bond was killing your line. Kale's roar drowned the words. The trees bent, the ground split, and the silver that had been meant for one woman turned to mist in the wind. When silence returned, only Kale stood, hands bloodied with betrayal, eyes hollow with terror of himself. He reached the den before sunset. Reyna lay still, her skin pale as ash. He fell beside her, pressing his forehead to hers, willing his breath into her lungs. Stay with me, he whispered. I'll trade my years for one more of yours. The mark pulsed once, then again, faster. Light spilled from her chest, not white, but gold, shot through with crimson. Her eyes opened, glowing with the same beast light that lived in his own. Kale froze. Reyna. She looked at him, really looked, and the forest trembled. The glow faded to a steady ember. "What did you do?" she asked softly. "I broke everything to find you." She lifted her hand. The mark between them burned no longer in pain, but in unison. "Then maybe the curse broke with it." Kale shook his head. "No, it changed." Outside, the red and white moons drifted closer than ever before, their light blending into one. The old gods whispered through the trees, uneasy. Reyna stood, unsteady but alive. Her reflection in the dark stone showed eyes neither human nor beast, but both. She touched Kale's face, and the mark between them beat like a second heart. Whatever bound them now was no longer a curse meant to end them. It was something the world had never seen before. The night after the poisoning, the forest did not sleep. Moonlight bled through the clouds in veins of silver, painting the trees like armor. Reyna stood at the mouth of the den, the wind combing her hair, her heartbeat echoing against the valley walls. She lifted her hand. The mark no longer glowed. It shimmered, alive. Threads of light crawled beneath her skin, tracing her veins like molten metal. When she breathed, the air moved with her. Branches bowed, leaves turned their faces to her pulse. Kale watched from the shadows, silent. The power he had once carried alone now lived inside her, restless and bright. Every time the light touched her skin, he saw the same hunger that haunted him. Beautiful, dangerous, beyond command. Reyna turned. "I can feel them," she whispered. "Every creature in the vale, their hearts, their fear." "That isn't a gift," Kyle said quietly. "It's the beginning of the curse." She smiled, not cruel, but certain. "Then maybe it's my turn to carry it." He stepped closer, careful, as if approaching fire. "You don't understand what it costs. I understand what it gives." Her eyes caught the moon and held it. "You spent your life fighting what you are. I'm done fighting." The air thickened. The bond between them tightened until the forest itself seemed to breathe in rhythm with their hearts. Kyle reached for her, but she moved first, closing the space between them with a calm that disarmed him. "Do you feel it?" she asked. "The pull. It listens to me now." He did. His own strength, the beast within, bent toward her like iron to a lodestone. It terrified him. "Reyna, stop." She touched his chest, just above the scar that once marked his curse. The heat of her hand burned through armor and restraint alike. "You taught me to run from nothing," she said. "Don't ask me to run from myself." The ground trembled. The moons brightened, their light spilling over her shoulders like a mantle. Kyle saw the shift, her pupils narrowing, the faint shimmer of fur along her wrists before fading again. A breath later, it was gone, leaving only a woman standing where a legend should be. She looked up at him, voice steady. "The darkness you feared. It isn't killing me. It's learning my name." Kyle's reply died on his tongue. He knelt instead, not in worship but in surrender, eyes lowered to the glow at her feet. The power had passed. The curse had chosen. Reyna reached down, touched his jaw, and whispered, "Then let's see if the gods can still command their monsters." The wind carried her words across the vale, and every creature that heard them bowed its head. The balance had turned. The beast was no longer the master. The girl he tried to save had become the storm itself. The twin moons hung over the citadel like two unblinking eyes. Chains clinked in rhythm with Kale's footsteps as the guards dragged him through the corridor of carved stone. The scent of incense could not hide the smell of blood. The council waited in the hall of judgment, 13 thrones of bone and silver, their owners draped in shadowed robes. Kale did not bow. He stared straight ahead, wrists bound, the old curse burning through the mark on his skin. "Kale of the Black Veil," the High Elder said, "once alpha, now blasphemer. You mated with a mortal and let her live. Do you deny it? I deny nothing, Kale answered. His voice, low and even, carried across the chamber. The mark chose. The gods only watched. Then the punishment will please them. The elder raised his hand. The silver chains brightened, coiling like snakes. Outside the city, the crowd gathered to witness the execution. No one noticed the quiet priestess in the last row, the one who kept her hood low and her hands hidden inside her sleeves. Reyna moved through them like a shadow, every step timed to the beating of the mark beneath her ribs. Her borrowed robes smelled of myrrh and fear. Beneath the veil, her eyes flickered once with gold light. She slipped inside the hall just as Kale was forced to his knees before the altar. The elders began to chant. The language was old, sharp as broken glass. Each word dimmed the moonlight, drawing power to the blade waiting in the high elder's hand. Kale lifted his head. He felt her before he saw her. The bond stirred, faint but certain. Reyna. She stepped forward, pushing back the veil. Gasps rippled through the room. The guards reached for her, but stopped when the mark on her wrist blazed through the cloth. I speak before the moons, she said, her voice clear. You call him cursed, but he carries what you fear. Truth. Silence, the elder thundered. The mortal dares... She cut him off. Kale. The name struck the air like thunder. The mark flared, a column of light joining them. The crowd staggered back. Some fell to their knees. The white and red moons pulsed once, then cracked across their centers, spilling a storm of light. Kale's chains melted into dust. The curse that had scarred his arms for centuries seared away in an instant. He reached for her, but the glow around her hands began to devour itself. Reyna, stop. If I stop, she whispered, you die. The light climbed her arms, peeling through skin and shadow alike. Her heartbeat faltered, then steadied again in his chest. When the blaze faded, she stood motionless, pale as stone, eyes empty of color. Kyle caught her before she fell. The chamber was silent. No elder dared move, no guard dared breathe. She gave her humanity to balance the mark, one whispered. The curse is undone, but so is she. Kale lifted her, cradling what remained of warmth in her. Then the gods will learn what mercy costs, he said, and walked out into the broken light. Behind them, the moons continued to bleed across the sky, as if the heavens themselves wept for what had been taken and what had been made in its place. Rain fell across the shattered city, washing silver dust from the broken thrones. Kale carried Reyna through the gates, her body weightless against him, her skin cold as moonstone. At the edge of the forest he set her down, kneeling in the mud, waiting for breath that did not come. The first sound was not breath. It was a growl. Her eyes opened, pale gold, the same shade as his. Veins of light threaded her throat. Every pulse mirrored his own. When she spoke, her voice carried a second tone beneath it, low and animal, echoing through the trees. What have they done to us? Kyle reached for her face but stopped halfway, afraid his touch would finish what the curse began. They tried to unmake us, he said. Instead, they forged something new. The wind shifted. Sentries from the council patrol crashed through the undergrowth, blades drawn. The leader hesitated when he saw them. The exiled alpha and the woman who no longer bled like a mortal. Kale rose slowly. Reyna stood beside him, her fingers brushing his. The mark between them burned to life, a single heartbeat shared by two bodies. The air thickened, heavy with storm. When the soldiers charged, neither ran. Kale moved first, fluid, silent, faster than a blink. The ground split beneath his stride, claws catching light. Reyna followed, not human anymore. She moved with him, through him. Their rhythm, a single thought. The forest erupted in sound, Steel clashing, branches snapping, thunder rolling from their lungs. Every strike left fire in its wake. Every breath they shared fed the flames. When it ended, smoke drifted above a clearing that had once been a battlefield. The survivors fled toward the city, screaming of gods reborn. Reyna stood at the center, eyes bright, blood steaming where it touched the ground. Kale watched her, awe and fear warring inside him. "You feel it too," she said quietly. "Their hearts, their terror. It feeds the bond." "It feeds the beast?" he answered. She smiled, a strange, fierce curve. "Then maybe the beast was never your enemy. Maybe it was waiting for me." Lightning split the sky. The twin moons burned behind the clouds. Kale stepped closer, his voice barely human. "Then we fight as one." Their hands met, palms searing where the marks touched. The light rose again, brighter, wider, until the forest bowed under it. The roar that followed was not Kale's alone, nor Reyna's. It was something born of both. The council would later call that night the Fall of Light. Those who lived spoke of two figures walking through fire, unbroken, bound by a bond older than the gods. To Kale and Reyna, it was no war cry, it was a vow. Breath for breath, blood for blood, until nothing in heaven or earth dared to name them cursed again. Smoke lay over the vale like a shroud. Where the council's fortress had stood, only ash remained. The forest itself had gone quiet, too aware of what it had witnessed. Reyna walked through the ruins barefoot, the ground still warm beneath her feet. Freedom had a taste, she realized, bitter and metallic, like blood cooled too long in the rain. Kale watched her from a distance. The mark between them pulsed steady, but it no longer burned with the same ache. Something had shifted since the battle. He could feel her heartbeat slide away from his, not weaker, just different. Reyna knelt and touched a fallen banner, its silver sigil scorched to black. "We won," she said, though it sounded like a question. "Victory isn't freedom," Kyle answered. "It's just the silence after the screaming stops." She looked over her shoulder, eyes faintly glowing under the smoke. "Then why do I feel more alive in the silence than I ever did in the light?" He started toward her, every step measured, unsure if he was approaching a woman or a storm. "Because you carry what I was meant to bear. The bond changed you." She straightened. "No, Kale. It revealed me." The air between them tightened, the kind of stillness that comes before a wolf's leap. The wild hummed inside her veins, whispering of trees untouched by laws and moons unbroken by gods. Kale reached out, hand hovering near her shoulder. "You're losing yourself." Her laughter came soft, almost tender. "Or maybe I'm just not yours to save anymore." He caught her wrist. The mark flared, binding heat to his skin. For a heartbeat they stood locked, Alpha and the creature his love had made, neither stronger, neither yielding. "Listen to me," he said. "The world burns because we forgot what we were fighting for." Reyna stepped closer until their shadows merged. "You fought for control," she said. "I fought for freedom. Tell me which one survived." The question hung in the air, heavy as thunder. Kale's hand loosened. Reyna slipped free and turned toward the forest, her cloak catching the wind like wings. "Where will you go?" "Where the gods can't follow," she said, and walked into the trees. Kale stood watching until her scent faded, the bond stretching thin, a thread of light vanishing into the wild. For the first time in his life, he couldn't tell if he was the monster chasing her or the man she left behind. The moons rose again that night, their glow washing the vale clean of smoke. Somewhere beyond their reach, Reyna ran, not from him, not from the curse, but from the last traces of her own humanity still trying to catch her. The forest waited for them. Every leaf held its breath. Every branch bowed under the weight of the twin moons. Kale found her where the river met the cliff, moonlight silvering the wild in her hair. She didn't turn when he spoke. "The gods set their price," he said. "Only one of us stays." Reyna watched the water coil around her bare feet. "Then they'll get neither." He stepped closer. The mark between them pulsed once, slow, deep, final. "If you stay, the bond drains me. If I stay, it consumes you." She smiled, the kind of smile that carried both defiance and farewell. "Then let it consume us both." The wind rose, scattering the scent of rain and ash. Kale reached for her hand. Their palms met, and the forest shuddered. Light broke through the clouds in a single molten beam. The air trembled as if the world itself could not decide whether to end or begin. Around them, the river stilled. Stars burned brighter, then fell like sparks from a forge. Reyna leaned into him until their shadows merged, two outlines drawn by firelight. The bond flared, neither curse nor blessing now, only truth made visible. "Kale," she whispered, "if the moon takes me—" "It won't," he said, voice rough with everything he couldn't ask. "Not while you still breathe my name." The glow around them swelled. Each heartbeat peeled away another layer of the curse. Every breath sounded like a prayer too heavy to finish. The ground cracked beneath their feet, roots twisting toward the sky, the forest bending as if to shield them from the gods. Then came stillness, total, consuming. Reyna's eyes closed. The light drew upward, lifting from her skin, from his, from the mark that had once chained them. For a moment, she seemed to dissolve into that radiance, and Kale held her as if holding light itself. When the brilliance faded, only one moon remained in the sky. Kale knelt in its glow, Reyna's body resting in his arms, warm, alive, but changed. The mark was gone. In its place, a faint scar shaped like a crescent rested over her heart. She opened her eyes. "The curse is done." Kale looked at her, tears cutting through the soot on his face. "No," he said softly. "It was never a curse. It was the gods teaching us how to surrender." Above them, the stars settled back into place, duller now, as if jealous of what they had witnessed. The forest exhaled, slow and relieved. For that one night, the world was quiet, two hearts beating where only one was meant to remain. Dawn bled slowly through the trees, turning every drop of dew to rust. The vale lay quiet. No birds, no wind, only the heartbeat of a world holding its breath. Reyna stood where the river once met the cliff, cloak drawn tight, eyes lifted to the reddened sky. "They're coming," she said. Her voice didn't tremble. It carried the calm of someone who had already made peace with the ending. Kale stepped out from the shadows, armor cracked, skin marked by old light. "Then they'll see what they created." The first god arrived as a shimmer of fire, the second as a shape carved from ice. The third spoke through thunder. "You broke the balance. You burned the law that binds night to day." Reyna bowed her head. "Then I'll pay for it." "Take me and let him live." Kale caught her wrist. "No more bargains. We end this together." The gods drew close, their forms bright enough to sear the ground. "You would choose death?" Kale's gaze never left hers. "We already did. Every time we chose each other." The light surged forward, divine, absolute, and the world tilted under its weight. Kale moved first, pulling her against him as the blaze struck. For a heartbeat there was nothing but white, the sound of two names meeting, the mark between them flaring one last time. Then the fire faltered. The gods stopped. Not out of pity, but recognition. The power that rose from the pair wasn't defiance. It was balance, perfect and terrible. The light they unleashed bent around them instead of consuming them. The ground split open, roots twisting upward like veins of new life. The gods withdrew. "Let the forest keep what it has claimed," they said. Let them be the lesson we could not teach. When the light faded, the cliff was gone, replaced by a single tree taller than the sky. Two shadows lay at its base, joined at the heart, their outlines carved forever into the roots. Where their hands met, a faint pulse shimmered, a rhythm the earth would never forget. The wind carried the last echo through the veil, a whisper woven into every leaf and stream. Freedom is not the absence of chains. It's finding the one worth wearing. And as the sun climbed above the crimson dawn, the forest breathed again, alive, eternal, guarded by two spirits who had once been cursed and now were simply free.